Every morning before the sun comes up, someone unlocks the buildings, someone cleans the operating rooms, and someone cooks thousands of breakfasts. But if you look up just one floor above those basement utility corridors, you'll find a bright classroom or someone is teaching a lecture about those very same workers. The University of California actually keeps two separate books on these employees. On one hand, there is the academic syllabus used to study them in labor history classes. On the other, the institutional payroll used to pay them. Most of those workers belong to AFSCME Local 3299. It's the largest employee union in the UC system, representing over 42,000 service, patient care, and skilled craft workers across the state. If you are a student or a researcher here, it is incredibly easy to walk past the physical labor that makes your daily environment function without ever really seeing it. To understand how this university actually operates, you have to look past its progressive academic ideals. The real story plays out in the historic clash at its corporate payroll. For decades after World War II, the institution operated under a quiet assumption that campus service work would stay cheap and stay out of sight. In 1978, California passed the Higher Education Employer-Employee Relations Act. This granted university workers collective bargaining rights for the first time, proving that a union was, in fact, necessary. As the third largest employer in California, the UC system faced massive budget pressures. In the late 90s and 2000s, the university tried to cut costs by contracting out dining and custodial jobs to cheaper private companies. This diagram illustrates a monopsony. When a dominant buyer of labor uses its scale, it dictates and suppresses wages. But the workers pushed back. Uniting thousands into a single counterweight during the Sodexo campaign, they forced the university to bring those contracted jobs back in-house. The university held immense market power, but collective worker action proved to be the only mechanism heavy enough to counter it. That momentum carried into the 2010s, a period defined by escalating system-wide walkouts across patient care and campus services. Then came a direct legal threat. In 2018, the Supreme Court issued the Janus ruling, eliminating mandatory fair share union fees. Legal analysts broadly predicted that without those automatic fees, public sector unions would quickly wither and collapse. The workers at UC did the exact opposite. They recommitted to Local 3299 and staged massive, record-breaking strikes in 2018 and 2019. These walkouts targeted specific contract disputes, but they functioned as a deliberate structural defense against the university's continued attempts to outsource their jobs. The courts predicted a swift decline for public unions, but the physical reality of thousands of workers withholding their labor completely outmatched the legal theory. That brings us to the massive 2024 to 2026 contract cycle. 37,000 workers walked off the job, creating picket lines that stretched across campus plazas and heavily impacted major facilities like the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. The union announced an open-ended strike, but ultimately canceled it when a tentative agreement was reached. The workers ratified the new contract with a historic 96.4% voting yes, which brings us back to the university's dual identity. UCLA actually funds an activist in residence program, paying Los Angeles labor organizers to spend a term on campus sharing their expertise. A labor scholar has significant academic influence in the classroom, but they hold exactly zero authority where it counts, the stark corporate bargaining table where the university sits as an employer. Underneath all the complex academic theories and legal battles, the workforce is driven by a very plain standard. A good day's work should earn a good day's wage. The operating rooms will be scrubbed and the dining halls will run either way. The only question left is, on what terms will the university community allow the people doing the work to be treated?